Hey guys, it's James with the Pot Smashers crew, and I'm back with part 2 of my top 10 overrated games list. Yeah, I know it's late. If you missed the first video, you can check it out on our channel, or just jump in with us as we count our way down from number 5. Battletoads for the NES. Okay, admittedly, I don't have much in the way of stats to back up this particular item on the list, but I still feel confident in saying Battletoads for the original Nintendo was too popular for what you got. Specifically, 2.5 levels followed by a brick wall of difficulty. I'm not sure who on earth could beat that speeder level, but it's been rumored after you do, things only get harder. Now, obviously you shouldn't believe anyone who tells you the difficulty increases, because that's impossible, and yeah, the controls are great, the characters are fun, the gameplay is crisp, and the level design was interesting, but I'll be damned if this game wasn't made to sell Game Genies. Anyone who tells you this is one of the best games on the NES is lying. There's hard, and then there's dumb. Even if you practice the living hell out of it, you can toss bad co-op design with no option to turn off friendly fire, and a death from either player resulting in a restart onto the list of criticisms. Nothing builds animosity between friends like making that third speeder jump only to have your friend goof the landing, forcing you to restart. Don't buy into the hype, it's not worth the price of admission. So, what NES game should you have been playing? Clash at Demonhead. A hero named Bang, an overworld map with branching paths, an item shop, a lengthy story, variety of bosses, weapon upgrades, funny dialogue, all rounded out with a desire to be campy? If Mega Man and Metroid are Hitchcock, Clash at Demonhead is Evil Dead 2. This game nails the humor, both accidentally and quite intentionally, while flawlessly meshing science fiction and fantasy elements. The game provides no attempt to reconcile magic and aliens, or nuclear weapons and mystical swords, and instead embraces them all in one unforgettable romp up a mountain. Toss in The Force for good measure, and hiding in an underwear drawer, and you've got the recipe for a cult classic. Now, admittedly, the hit detection isn't perfect and the music's not that memorable, but they're serviceable. The game is big, the story has red herrings and plot twists, and it's referenced in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Of the Clash at Demonhead!
I know!
Most importantly, unlike Battletoads, you could in theory beat this title. Yeah, it might take a walkthrough and some notes, but you're gonna get more than 2.5 levels. Sword and Sorcery, or Sword and Sorcery. I don't know, even the name is obtuse. Available on mobile devices and PC, it's a point-and-click game, sold 1.5 million copies, and is hailed to be as great in atmosphere as it is in appearance. As a haven for hipster gamers, you can expect claims of this game to be as good as that latte they had this morning from the coffee shop they can't tell you the name of. So, while the soundtrack and unique narrative structure do help with immersion as you set out to defeat some sinister force, you are soon faced with the unfortunate reality that unlike some of the better point-and-click titles, which utilize clever and unique design, in this game, getting stuck can usually be remedied by simply clicking everywhere on the screen undiscerningly. Now, it's not all bad with only limited motion control gimmicks and intriguing story. The title can carry you through the glaring void of interesting gameplay, even if the overall experience ends up feeling gimmicky with a shameless post this on Facebook plug and elements being tied to the actual phases of the moon. But the real question is, why would you bother grabbing this to beat back that King's Quest nostalgia when there's such better options out there? Which brings me to Machinarium by Amanita Design. This point-and-click game is just oozing with charm. Without saying a single word, it captures your attention with its beautiful and unique visual style, and then hangs on like there's no tomorrow. With intuitive mechanics and by generally limiting you to a single room at a time, the game avoids any situation which might leave you feeling lost or overwhelmed. Meanwhile, it promotes exploring each environment while competently avoiding any puzzle solutions that can be achieved purely through brute force. Character emotion is pleasantly communicated using illustrated thought bubbles which appear above various characters' heads, and honestly, having sold a fraction of the copies, this relative diamond in the rough comes off as more heartfelt and personal, while also managing to be better designed and less gimmicky. So, stop listening to those chumps with the beards and top knots and quit worrying about when the next full moon is. There's some real puzzles afoot, and you've got some solving to do. Oh, I'm going there. Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. To sum it up in a word, uninspired. To sum it up in 265, Zelda titles don't always have the most original story, but there's not a single surprise to be had here. Now, ignoring the rental system's deeper issues, I admire an attempt to break the formula. Unfortunately, even the small novelty of this system is quickly undermined by the lack of difficulty. Chests become simple vessels for rupees, and therefore meaningless, because you're going to be flush with cash at all times. Add to that the ironically linear puzzles and less than engaging mini-games, and you'll be blasting through this one faster than you can say, "Why would anyone think this is good?" As for my biggest gripe, gameplay and mechanics. The gameplay is ripped straight from Link to the Past, but with one awful twist, the flattening mechanic. You know what's not fun in a game where you're supposed to be on an adventure? Repeatedly walking back and forth trying to determine if there's anything 3 screens away before your dumbass magic meter runs out. It's beyond me how a whole team of game designers failed to realize that exploring isn't fun when your primary mechanic adds the equivalent of blind alleys to every level's design. My best guess is that this game is a less than subtle you to all the fanboys. I mean, where previous handheld titles were chock full of quirky characters, original gameplay, and ruthless difficulty, someone decided that on the first 3D installment in the series they would release a game that lacked depth. Quite literally. Just as a side note, I also hated the art style. So what has depth? Appropriately, it's a digging game called Steamworld Dig. It's an adventure game, also available on the 3DS and PC, and this short but satisfying entry has you playing as Rusty, a steam-powered robot who's inherited his uncle's mine. The goal is to explore into the depths of the mine, collecting gems and upgrades while solving the broader mystery of what happened to your uncle. The game's pacing is perfect, and characters have, well, character. The gameplay has that all-important just a few more minutes, just a few more blocks feel, and while it's been criticized on its length and replayability, I don't think every digging game needs to be Terraria or Minecraft, and it felt refreshing that you could comfortably 100% this title, and that there's a proverbial light at the end of the digging tunnel. Honestly, there's nothing revolutionary here, but the tight execution of fun and proven gameplay mechanics with a focus on great controls and clear objectives makes for an awesome time. The game developers clearly had a vision, and there's a level of polish beyond what you'd expect of a smaller studio. Even the critique on length is a tribute in itself, as this essentially boils down to the players enjoying the game and simply wanting more. So, while Zelda may have the edge in sheer dollars per hour, in all other categories, I think Steamworld Dig is a way better experience. Animal Crossing. Nintendo has sold millions of copies of this game on the 3DS alone. Now, with stunning gameplay such as walking around, collecting bugs, getting a coffee, or managing a small town's fundraising efforts, you might be like me and wondering what the appeal is. But don't worry, it all becomes clear when you get to the real meat of the game, such as going to your friend's house to see their furniture, or plunging your digital avatar into crippling house debt. Crippling house debt. And manically pawning every single item and gift you can get your grubby paws on. Already feeling a bit too real? Don't worry, because this digital rat race is just getting started. In a game so devoid of interesting gameplay that it gives the vast majorities of MMOs an erection, you'll come to realize Tom Nook is actually just a drug dealer turned real estate agent, as you willingly repeat the self-destructive behavior of trading your life in exchange for the shallow fulfillment of having a bigger fake house. And to top it all off, should you ever decide you no longer care about your severe addiction to interior decorating, or the furry cult of a town that obviously forged the paperwork required to get you to join, then you can expect to be buying the newest version when you do get that itch. Or be faced with the crippling guilt of digital abandonment. Which brings me to a game that might actually cause you to abandon important aspects of your life, like showering, eating, or even sleeping. Stardew Valley. Made by a single guy, if your goal was to lose yourself in a game about day-to-day life, this is how you should do it. A spiritual successor to games like Harvest Moon, this piece of art gets everything right. Beautiful visuals, charming presentation, wonderful characters, incredible depth, and now you can even marry Shane. At just over a couple million copies sold with a proposed multiplayer on the horizon, instead of waiting to do everything tomorrow, you're gonna be mad you can't do more today, goddamn needing to sleep. Whether your goal is finding the perfect crop rotation for your burgeoning farm or just exploring the colorful world, this is the cocaine equivalent of farming games. Add to the less than subtle digs at commercialization and continued development by the creator, and the recipe for the first enjoyable time you've spent with an Excel spreadsheet is obviously strawberries, rhubarb, and potatoes in the spring, cranberries, pumpkins, and grapes in the fall. Yep, it's hugely popular and extremely well reviewed for an indie game, but its critical acclaim can't even touch the Animal Crossing overratedness. Please note I'm not liable if feeding your digital livestock results in your actual pet peeing on the floor or dying of starvation. Set yourself an alarm or something. Did you guess? Anything Call of Duty! This is the same game remade 14 times over. If you in any way believe that games are an art form or a way for talented people to express themselves, you should never, ever buy or even play these titles, because they no longer contain even an ounce of creativity. Now, it would be easy to go into great detail as to why the games suck, citing awful generic single-player storytelling or the development team using the principles of psychological addiction instead of trying to make something innovative and fun. But what it boils down to is that there are literally thousands of better options. And so, my recommendation. Well, here goes. Anything! Let's say you want a fun game. You easily have 20 years of consoles you could play. Games proven to be entertaining and engaging, right from the original Mario to arcade classics. From brawlers like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games to sim management titles like Roller Coaster Tycoons. Roguelikes like FTL, creative survival sandboxes like Minecraft and Terraria, and so many in between. But let's say you love your high definition graphics. We'll forgive you. Sometimes we love shiny things too. You could play Dark Souls, Defense Grid, Borderlands 2, GTA 5, Dirt Rally, and the list goes on. No wait, but those won't work. You need a competitive scene. That's okay. How about StarCraft 2, Diablo 3, Dota 2, Rocket League, Smash Bros, whatever. Okay, but let's say you want all those things and it needs to be a shooter. There's no options then, right? Wait a minute. Counter-Strike? Overwatch? Halo? Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six Siege? Hell, even Nintendo nailed this recently with Splatoon. Yeah, there's no real excuse for this. Don't play Call of Duty. Don't pay your respects with X. And if you do, don't ever come bitching and moaning to me when your favorite franchise is inevitably swallowed up by these corporate assholes. So, before everyone jumps to the comments with their pitchforks and personal threats, let's be clear here. I'm not saying any of the games listed are bad. In fact, the vast majority of them are actually quite engaging and fun. All I'm saying is that if you wade a little deeper into the ever-growing pool of industry titles and ignore the arbitrary review numbers, misplaced nostalgia, and mass marketing, you're likely to be surprised with just how many unique and genuinely fun experiences there are to be had. So, thanks for tuning in. Sorry it took me so long to get this episode posted. As I mentioned before, these ones are a lot of work. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you liked the video, don't forget to click that little like button below. That makes a huge difference to me. And if you want to see more of this, then feel free to subscribe. So have a nice day and